Hey there, are you ready to dive into some really cool stuff? Like how tiny nutrients can have a huge impact on your brain.
Yeah, it's pretty
We're
wild.
talking about micronutrients, those vitamins and minerals we often just kind of take for granted,
Right.
and how they really hold the keys to a healthy brain, like a thriving brain.
It's remarkable when you really think about it.
I know.
These tiny compounds play such an important role
They do?
in everything memory and focus,
Yeah?
to even protecting us from some pretty serious neurological conditions.
Absolutely. And our deep dive today is actually based on a recent article
Okay.
from the journal Nutrients called Micronutrients and Neurological Health, a Vital Connection.
Oh, interesting.
And it is packed with insights
I bet.
that I think will really make you rethink how you approach your own brain health.
One of the things that really stood out to me was just how common these micronutrient deficiencies are. They
Really?
can really sneak up on you.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit.
Sure.
We're talking about deficiencies in things like vitamin D and B12, right?
Right.
The stuff we should be getting from our diet.
Right. But the problem is the symptoms often don't really show up until the problem is pretty advanced.
Oh, wow.
And when they do, they can be so general, like fatigue or brain fog or mood swings,
Okay.
that you might just think it's stress or that you're just having a busy week.
So you're saying we could be walking around with this silent deficiency and not even realizing that our brain isn't getting what it needs
Exactly.
to function properly.
That is unsettling.
And the article highlights how many everyday things can contribute to these deficiencies.
Like what?
Well, stress aging, even just common medical situations, like if you're in the ICU or if you have severe burns,
Yeah.
these things can deplete your body's stores of these important nutrients.
See, I knew that diet was important for overall health, but I never really considered the impact it could have on my brain specifically.
Oh, and that's where things get really interesting.
Because research shows a clear link between micronutrient deficiencies and a whole range of neurological conditions.
Like what kind?
We're talking Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, even ALS.
Wow, so that's a pretty broad spectrum.
Yeah.
So are you saying that simply taking a multivitamin could protect us from these conditions?
I wish it were that simple.
Okay.
Micronutrients are essential,
Yeah.
but they're not a magic bullet.
Okay.
Taking supplements won't necessarily prevent or cure these diseases.
But they play a role, right?
Absolutely. They're
So-
like the essential building blocks for a healthy brain.
Yeah.
Let's start with Alzheimer's disease.
Okay.
Research has found a connection between low levels of vitamins A, B, C, D, and E
Well, all of them.
and the progression of the disease.
So getting enough of those vitamins could potentially help slow down cognitive decline.
Well, it's not just about their absence,
Yeah.
It's about what these vitamins actually do in the brain.
Okay.
Vitamin E, for example, is a powerful antioxidant that helps protect brain cells from damage,
Okay.
sort of like a shield against wear and tear.
I like that.
And B vitamins are involved in some pretty crucial processes, like
Okay.
producing neurotransmitters,
Yeah.
those chemical messengers that allow brain cells to communicate with each other,
Right.
and even repairing damaged DNA.
Oh, wow.
So it's not just about preventing those vitamins from being depleted, it's about making sure they're there to do their jobs and keep the brain running smoothly.
Keep everything running smoothly.
Exactly. And there's another interesting connection here.
Okay.
There's a strong link between elevated homocysteine levels and an increased risk of Alzheimer's.
Homocysteine. Remind me what that is again.
Think of it as sort of like a traffic jam in the brain.
Okay.
High homocysteine levels can disrupt blood flow and communication between brain cells.
Gotcha.
And guess what? Can help lower those levels and keep things flowing smoothly.
What's that?
B vitamins.
So B vitamins are like the traffic cops of the brain,
I like that.
clearing those pathways and keeping everything running efficiently.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
And it ties back to what we were saying about B vitamins being essential for heart health as well.
Right, so it's all interconnected.
Precisely. Now let's move on to another condition where these vitamins play a critical role.
Oh.
Parkinson's disease.
Okay.
Similar to Alzheimer's, chronic deficiencies in vitamins A, D, E, B1, and C are implicated in its development,
Wow.
along with, the usual suspects, stress and inflammation.
So it's like these deficiencies create the perfect storm for these conditions to take hold.
Right.
Are there any other conditions where we see these connections?
Absolutely. We see the vitamin D connection pop up again with myasthenia gravis,
Huh?
an autoimmune condition that causes muscle weakness.
Right.
Low vitamin D is a recurring theme in many autoimmune diseases,
Mhm.
and researchers are exploring whether boosting vitamin D levels could help manage these conditions.
That makes sense given vitamin D's role in regulating the immune system.
Yeah,
It's like a conductor trying to keep the orchestra in harmony.
I like that.
But what about ALS? Is there anything promising on that front?
ALS is a tough one.
Yeah.
Studies show that ALS patients often have significantly lower vitamin D levels than healthy individuals.
Okay.
But here's the catch. Supplementing with vitamin D hasn't shown clear benefits in terms of improving the course of the disease.
So it's not as simple as just take vitamin D and you're good to go.
Right.
It's about understanding how all of these factors sort of play together.
Exactly. And sometimes we see a different approach entirely, like with Wilson's disease.
Oh,
It's a genetic disorder where copper builds up in the body, especially the brain.
oh wow.
And guess what's used as a treatment to reduce copper levels?
Zinc.
Zinc. It is.
Wow.
It competes with copper for absorption.
Okay.
So by supplementing with zinc, you can actually help lower copper levels in the body.
That's incredible.
It's pretty clever.
It seems like we're only just beginning to understand the intricate ways that these micronutrients impact our brains.
Yeah, and it really underscores the importance of taking a proactive approach to our brain health rather than waiting for problems to arise.
So we need to pay attention to our micronutrient intake.
We do.
But where do we even begin? It all feels a bit overwhelming.
Don't worry, it's not as daunting as it seems.
Okay.
A great first step is simply to review your diet.
Okay.
Are you getting a variety of nutrient-rich foods? Are there any obvious gaps?
And if we're concerned about deficiencies, is it best to consult a healthcare professional?
Absolutely. A healthcare professional can help you assess your individual needs and determine if supplementation might be beneficial.
This is all incredibly insightful, but I have to ask.
Yeah,
You mentioned taking magnesium, bisglycinate, and vitamin D3.
I do.
How did you decide on those specific supplements? And what advice do you have for listeners who want to explore supplementation but are unsure where to begin?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember that even though I might take certain supplements, that doesn't mean they're right for everyone. That's why working with a healthcare professional is so crucial.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we've talked about vitamin D, the B vitamins, zinc, and even touched on antioxidants.
Right.
It seems like there's a whole army of micronutrients working behind the scenes to keep our brains healthy.
There really is.
Wow.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, no.
In our next segment, we'll delve even deeper into the roles of antioxidants and omega-3 fatty acids.
Ooh.
We'll explore the fascinating connection between gut health and brain health,
Oh, cool.
and discuss practical strategies for incorporating more brain-boosting foods into your diet.
I can't wait. This is shaping up to be a truly eye-opening deep dive into the world of micronutrients and brain health. Stick with us, folks. You won't want to miss what's coming up next.
It's going to be good. It's really amazing to think about
Like that.
that something as simple as getting enough of these tiny nutrients
Yeah.
could have such a big impact.
A huge impact.
Yeah, a huge impact on our long-term brain health.
I know. It's like a whole new way of thinking about nutrition.
It is.
It's not just fuel for our bodies, but it's like building blocks
Yeah.
for a healthy, resilient brain.
And you know what's really concerning is
Right.
that this source material that we're working with today,
Yeah.
it highlights what can happen if you have these deficiencies for a long time.
Oh, wow.
And it's not just about, feeling a bit tired or foggy.
Sure.
It's about the actual changes that can happen, physiologically when our brains are starved of these essential nutrients.
So we're not just talking about like extreme cases of malnutrition or people with specific medical conditions.
No, not at all.
You're saying this can affect anyone,
Yeah, pretty much.
even those of us who consider ourselves relatively healthy.
Think about that busy professional
Oh, yeah.
who's constantly stressed and grabbing meals on the go
Yeah, there's so many people like that.
and not prioritizing sleep.
Right.
Or the older adult
Right.
whose appetite has declined and their body might not be absorbing nutrients as efficiently.
Right, right.
These are just everyday scenarios
They are.
where micronutrient deficiencies can really creep in.
And it's so easy to just brush off those symptoms, as just being tired or stressed.
Exactly.
But in reality, it could be our brain's way of saying, hey, I need some help here.
Right, exactly. And the longer those deficiencies go on, the
Mm.
greater the risk of developing more serious problems down the line.
So what can we do about it? We talked about eating a nutrient-rich diet and talking to our doctor.
Right.
Are there any other practical steps that we can take?
Well, one area that I think people often overlook is gut health.
Gut health, okay.
You see our gut microbiome, all those microorganisms living in our digestive tract.
Yes.
They play a really important role in how we absorb nutrients from our food.
So if our gut isn't functioning properly, we might not be getting all the benefit.
Exactly, even from the healthiest diet.
So how do we support gut health?
Well, there's so much cool research being done in this area, but some simple things we can do
Okay.
are, eating a diet rich in fiber fermented foods. And prebiotics, those are the fibers that feed the good
Oh,
bacteria.
right, right.
And then, on the other hand, reducing things like processed foods, sugar, alcohol can make a
Uh-huh.
big difference.
All good advice.
Yeah,
I'm guessing managing stress is also key, since we know that chronic stress can really wreak havoc on our gut.
absolutely. Stress management is essential for everything.
It is.
Even for gut health, overall
Huh?
health, whether it's, mindfulness practices, yoga,
Yeah.
spending time in nature, or, whatever works for you.
Whatever works.
Finding ways to de-stress is crucial.
So it sounds like we're talking about a holistic approach,
Yeah,
taking care of our minds, our bodies, and our environments,
exactly.
all of which ultimately play a role in our brain health.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important takeaway from this deep dive.
Yeah.
It's not just about popping a pill or adding a few more veggies to your plate.
Right.
It's about recognizing how all these factors are connected, you know?
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
And adopting a lifestyle that really supports brain health in a comprehensive way.
And that includes being proactive about getting our micronutrient levels checked.
Yeah,
Not just
definitely.
waiting until we have symptoms.
Exactly. Talk to your doctor about, getting your levels checked.
Yeah.
And discuss whether supplementation might be right for you.
I love that we're empowering our listeners to really take charge of their health and advocate for themselves.
Yeah, I think that's so important.
Knowledge is power.
It is. And the more we understand about how our brains work
Yes.
and all the things that influence them,
Yeah.
the better choices we can make about our health and well-being.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
It has.
I feel like we've barely scratched the surface.
We have so much more to talk about.
But we've uncovered some really valuable insights.
We have.
But before we move on, I
Yeah.
want to touch on a specific point from the article.
Okay.
It's the role of antioxidants.
Oh, yeah, those are important.
Can you elaborate on that a bit? What are they and why are they so important?
Sure, antioxidants basically protect our cells,
Okay.
including our brain cells,
Yeah.
from damage caused by free radicals.
Or radicals.
You can think of them as like unstable molecules that are constantly bouncing around,
Okay.
and they can cause damage to our DNA, our
Yeah.
proteins, our cell membranes.
Oh, no.
And this damage is called oxidative stress,
Oxidative stress.
and it's linked to all sorts of health problems,
Okay.
including neurological disorders.
So it's like rust accumulating on a car.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Over time, if you don't take care of that rust, it can cause serious problems.
Exactly. And just like we need to protect our cars from rust, we need to protect our brains from oxidative stress.
So antioxidants are our armor,
That's a great way to put it.
shielding our brains from those damaging free radicals.
Exactly. They neutralize the free radicals,
Okay.
and that prevents them from causing that damage.
Okay, and where do we find these powerful antioxidants?
You might be surprised to learn that a lot of the micronutrients we've been talking about,
Okay.
like vitamin C and E beta carotene,
Yeah,
those are all powerful antioxidants.
they are.
And they're found in a lot of everyday foods, like fruits and vegetables, other plant-based foods.
So another reason to load up on those colorful fruits and veggies.
Definitely.
But what about those of us who struggle to get enough through diet alone? Are there supplements that can help?
Well, there are a lot of antioxidant supplements out there,
Yeah.
but it's really important to talk to your doctor before taking any,
Okay.
because some antioxidants can interact with medications,
Oh,
or they might have some unintended consequences.
It's always best to err on the side of caution
It is,
and get personalized advice from a doctor.
for sure. And keep in mind that supplements should never be a replacement for a healthy diet.
Right. They're meant to supplement,
Exactly.
not replace. Okay, so prioritize a healthy diet rich in those antioxidant-rich foods, and then maybe consider supplements if our doctor thinks it's a good idea.
Exactly.
Anything else we should keep in mind when it comes to antioxidants?
Well, one thing is that not all antioxidants are created equal.
Oh, okay.
Some are more effective than others.
Right.
And different antioxidants target different types of free radicals.
Okay.
So it's good to get a variety of antioxidants.
From different sources.
Different sources, exactly.
Variety is the spice of life,
It is.
and apparently the key to antioxidant protection.
That's right. And another interesting thing is that some foods
Yeah.
contain compounds that work well with antioxidants and actually boost their effectiveness.
Really?
Yeah. For example, curcumin,
Okay.
which is the active compound in turmeric,
Right.
it's been shown to boost the antioxidant activity of vitamin E.
Wow, so it's not just about the individual nutrients,
Right.
but how they work together in our bodies.
It's a team effort.
It's a team effort. I like
Yeah.
that.
Each one playing its part to protect our brains.
That's amazing.
It's really complex and fascinating.
It is.
And the more we learn,
Yeah.
the more we realize how much we don't know.
That's the beauty of science.
It is.
It's a constant journey of discovery.
It is. And when it comes to the brain, there's still so much to learn.
Yeah, so much.
But what we do know is that micronutrients play a crucial role
They do.
in keeping it healthy and functioning well.
And that neglecting these essential nutrients could have serious consequences,
It could.
not just for our physical health, but for our cognitive abilities, our emotional well-being, our overall quality of life.
Absolutely. The brain is like the control center for our whole being,
Yeah,
and it needs proper nourishment to function at its best.
I like that's a good way to put it.
And by prioritizing our micronutrient intake,
Yeah.
we're basically investing in our brain health
We are.
and setting ourselves up for a brighter future.
I love that it's not just about preventing disease, it's about optimizing our brain's potential.
Exactly. It's about giving our brains what they need to thrive, to learn, to adapt,
Yeah.
to age gracefully.
That's a powerful message.
I think so. I hope it inspires people to take a look at what they're eating
Yeah,
and make some changes to support their brain health.
absolutely. Well said. And on that note, I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We've explored the amazing world of micronutrients,
Yeah,
learned about what happens when we don't get enough,
right.
and we've learned about how to fuel our brains for optimal health.
It's been an amazing conversation.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, there's
Yeah.
one more area I want to explore,
Okay.
the role of inflammation.
Oh, yeah.
We've touched on it briefly,
We have.
but I think it deserves a deep dive of its own.
I agree. Inflammation is so complex,
It is.
and it plays a role in so many health conditions,
So many.
including neurological disorders.
And this article highlights
It does.
the connection between chronic inflammation and the development of Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, other neurodegenerative conditions.
Chronic inflammation is like a smoldering fire in the body,
Okay.
slowly causing damage over time.
Yeah.
And the brain is really vulnerable to that kind of damage.
So what can we do to keep that fire under control?
Right. What can we do?
So where do we even start,
Yeah.
when it comes to putting out this fire? Are we talking about some crazy restrictive diet?
No, not at all. The good news is that a lot of anti-inflammatory foods are already things that you would eat on a healthy diet.
Okay.
We're talking about like colorful fruits and vegetables,
Yeah.
fatty fish nuts and seeds, even spices like turmeric and ginger.
Those all sound pretty good to me.
Yeah.
So we're not just fighting inflammation, but we're enjoying what we eat.
Exactly. And they're not just tasty, they're also packed with antioxidants, omega-3 fatty acids, and other, good compounds that can help dampen down that inflammatory fire.
Okay, so let's break it down a little bit. What are some specific examples?
Well, when it comes to fruits and veggies, the brighter the color, the better. So think of berries, leafy greens like spinach and kale tomatoes, sweet potatoes. They're full of antioxidants like vitamin C and E, as well as other powerful compounds like flavonoids and carotenoids, which all have anti-inflammatory properties.
So those colorful salads we're always told to eat aren't just pretty to look at. They're actually doing some serious work to protect our brains.
Exactly. And then there's fatty fish, salmon, tuna, mackerel. I'm sure you've heard of those.
Yeah.
They're rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which are not only powerful anti-inflammatory agents, but also essential for brain health in general.
So we're fighting inflammation and boosting brain power at the same time.
Exactly.
Talk about a win-win. Now, what about nuts and seeds? I'm a big fan of snacking on those, so tell me they're on the good list too.
You're in luck. Nuts and seeds are great sources of healthy fats and antioxidants. Almonds, walnuts, chia seeds, flax seeds, those are all really good choices.
Okay, good. I love all of those. Now, I got to ask about turmeric. It seems like everyone's talking about it these days. Is it really all it's cracked up to be?
Turmeric definitely deserves the hype curcumin. The active compound in turmeric has been really well studied
Oh, wow.
for its anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties.
Okay.
Studies show that it may be beneficial for a wide range of conditions, from arthritis and heart disease to even potentially protecting against certain types of cancer.
Wow, that's incredible. So even just adding a little bit of turmeric to our food could make a difference.
Absolutely. Adding it to smoothies, soups, stews, that's an easy way to increase how much you're eating. And here's a little tip.
Okay.
Combining it with black pepper actually helps your body absorb it better.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I'm taking notes. So we've talked about food. What about lifestyle changes? Is there anything we can do outside of the kitchen to kind of keep that inflammation in check?
Managing stress is super important
Yeah.
because chronic stress puts your body into a state of constant alert,
Right.
and that triggers the release of these inflammatory chemicals.
Oh,
Like your body's stuck in fight or flight mode,
yeah.
and that takes a toll on you over time.
Yeah. So all of those, relaxation techniques we talked about earlier, mindfulness yoga, spending time in nature,
Yeah.
they're not just about feeling good, they're actually reducing inflammation.
Exactly, at a cellular level. And getting enough sleep is really important too.
Yeah.
When you don't get enough sleep, your body's natural healing processes get messed up, and that leads to more inflammation.
So it all goes back to that holistic approach we talked about, taking care of our minds, our bodies, our environments.
It really does. And don't forget about exercise.
Oh, yeah.
Regular exercise, even something as simple as going for a walk,
Yeah.
has been shown to have really great anti-inflammatory effects.
This has been such a great conversation. We've learned so much about the connection between, these micronutrients, inflammation, and brain health.
We have.
And I feel like we've been given some really practical tools to take control of our health.
I agree, and I hope our listeners feel like they can do something about this and that they feel inspired to actually take action and put their brain health first.
It's never too late to start making changes.
That's right.
And on that note, I think it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive. We've covered so much ground today,
I know, it's flown by.
exploring, this amazing world of micronutrients,
Yeah,
uncovering those dangers of not getting enough,
right.
and learning how to actually fuel our brains for optimal health.
It's been a really interesting conversation.
Yeah, the pleasure was all mine. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this fascinating exploration of micronutrients and brain health. And remember, you have the power to make choices that support your brain health today and in the future. Until next time, stay curious and keep those brains nourished.